Welcome to another episode of Time, Talent, Treasure Radio from Stewards Planning Group. Stewards Planning Group is a company that specializes in helping you build purposeful retirement plans. Custom plans that not only help clients steward their treasure, but also their time and talent as well. They believe if you're taken care of financially, you can go even further to make the family, community, and kingdom impact you truly desire to make, which is the ultimate purpose of wealth. If you'd like to set up a no-cost, no-obligation meeting with one of their financial advisors, please give them a call at 222-4236. You can request a meeting at stewardsplanning.com, or you can simply stop by their office on 19th Avenue Southwest in Wilmer.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Time, Talent, Treasure Radio. And I'm your host, Ben Taatjes. And once again, we're winding down 2025, and I wanted to actually do kind of just a wrap show this day, and just kind of talk through something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, and that I think is important for our clients to hear today. It's a message of complacency. And if you listen to our podcast, Retire Repurposed, which does air on this station every Friday. If you listen to that, this message today on financial complacency actually dovetails really well with that one. In that show, me and Jared talk more about just how important it is not to get complacent with our lives. Today, I actually want to speak more about becoming complacent with our financial lives. And I think it's important that we are diligent. And most of the time, what tends to happen over time is we tend to become kind of forget that we're stewarding our time, talent, and resources. And when we see a risk coming, and I'm not a doomsdayer. I'm not somebody who would say that the markets are ready to crash or anything. I would never say that. I don't know where the markets are going next year. However, I do look at a season where we've been in a prolonged, really good financial market, and I start to say, okay, let's not get complacent as we wind down 2025. Let's make sure that we are careful, we're diligent, we're reviewing the plans that we've created. And that's really what I want to talk about today. So what is financial complacency? Well, financial complacency isn't recklessness. It's not overspending. It's not market timing. It's not bad investments. Really, it's just this quiet assumption that everything will just keep working. Okay, it's the quiet assumption that everything will just continue to work as it always has. We had a good year last year, we'll have a good year next year, and so on and so forth. And it sounds kind of like, hey, we've always been doing fine. The things will just work out according to whatever's supposed to happen. We don't need to look too closely at this. This is what my advisor's for. And really, what I want to make sure people hear is that most financial damage in retirement doesn't necessarily come from bad decisions. It comes from no decisions at all. Okay? Drifting is actually more dangerous than mistakes. Okay? So what I want to make sure that the story that I've seen play out many times in retirement is there's somebody that is very diligent about planning. And they save faithfully, they avoid major mistakes, they build up a solid nest egg over time, and they're getting close to retirement. But retirement comes and they just kind of freeze in time. They use the same investments, the same assumptions, same risk exposure, but it's a different season in life. Okay? What worked when you were working and you were earning income can actually kind of start to work against you when you're living on it. Okay, complacency would say, whatever got me here, that's what's going to take me the rest of the way. And actually, that's rarely true. Okay, the biggest complacency trap I see is not being able to understand the unique difference between wealth and income. Okay, people start when they get closer to retirement, they continue to kind of manage retirement as if they're still accumulating, not as if they're distributing. And there's a key difference there. When you're accumulating, right, you're watching those account balance really closely. You're worried about market swings. We're trying to avoid spending. And what happens is, okay, once we're into our retirement years, okay, when we can afford to begin spending, sometimes market changes come and it causes a lot of stress and anxiety on people. So what's missing in that picture? Well, it's a clear income purpose. That's what's missing. So we've got to look at money as a tool. Okay, we've got to ask ourselves 3 basic questions when we're looking at retirement income. Okay, what do I need to live on? Okay, is it reliable? Is it consistent? It's one of the things that I always look at Social Security income as, or pension income for our clients. If you're fortunate to have a pension, is it comes the same time each month, right? And it is going to be consistent and it's reliable. Social Security income is one of the easiest checks that people ever pay in retirement because it doesn't force you to go into your retirement savings and pull money out. We always see that as very, very simple to spend money that shows up on a consistent, regular basis. So you need to have the proper amount to live on, and that starts with what we call a steward's plan here. We understand what you have, then we move into how much do you need, right, and get that income there. And then what do I do with what's left over? The second question I think a retirement plan should answer too is, what do I want to enjoy? Be intentional with your finances. Make sure that money doesn't just disappear frivolously. It's kind of like when you were saving, right? You were saving money and you were diligent about creating a budget so that way you could put it into an account to save it for someday down the road. Now that same budget and that same financial plan actually helps you be intentional to enjoy the money that you saved. And I think the last thing is, and this kind of ties into the steward's plan really well, is what do you do with what's left over? So what do I want this money to accomplish beyond me, right? For my kids, for the charities that I support. So again, we want to make sure that while we're looking at both life and money, we don't become complacent. Financial complacency often mirrors life complacency for that. For if your finances don't have a purpose, sometimes your time doesn't have a purpose. It gets wasted. It just kind of, every day starts to look like the day before and like the day after it. So if I can close with this and kind of closing down 2025 is be intentional. I would love our listeners to start with a plan, right? Your plan should really it should engage you as you walk into the next season of life in retirement. That plan should plan for your life, but also your money. We don't want you to certainly have this feeling of, hey, I just arrived today with so much money and now I'm good. I want you to continue to plan, to continue to look at how you can become more and more intentional with the monies that God has entrusted you. And that's what stewardship is all about. It's about understanding that the money that we have saved, right, the money that we have put away and that we are stewarding today is a tool. It's to help us, right, live a better life, but also to help the community around us. That is what stewardship's all about. It's about ownership, and that's so important. So from all of us at Stewards Planning Group, until next week, steward well.
Do you need help stewarding your time, your talent, or your treasure? If so, Stewards Planning Group can help. Now is the time to set up a no-cost, no-obligation meeting. You can do this one of 3 ways. Number 1, give them a call right now at 222-4236. You can request a meeting online at stewardsplanning.com, or you can just stop by their office located on 19th Avenue Southwest in Wilmer. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Time, Talent, Treasure Radio. We'll see you next time. Securities offered through Cetera Wealth Services, LLC, member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered through Cetera Investment Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Cetera is under separate ownership from any other named entity. Ben Taatjes is a financial advisor at Stewards Planning Group. Securities offered through Cetera Wealth Services, LLC, member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered through Cetera Investment Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Cetera is under separate ownership from any other named entity. 1104 19th Avenue Southwest, Wilmer, Minnesota 56201. The views depicted in this material are for information purposes only and are not necessarily those of Cetera Wealth Services, LLC. They should not be considered specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Neither Cetera Wealth Services, LLC, nor any of its representatives may give legal or tax advice.